COVID-19 pandemic has deepened social challenges that children and their families, schools and school facilities are facing globally, including Slovakia, of course. So how do social pedagogues in Slovakia perceive the present situation? And what can they do? How can they really help when the nation suffers under pandemic? We are going to listen to the voices of several Slovak social pedagogues as they are searching for answers to these questions. Let us start with introducing the concept of social pedagogy in Slovakia. So here is Professor Miriam Miklová, who is the chief representative of the Slovak Association of Social Pedagogues.
Hello, my name is Miriam Miklová and I am the head of the Department of Pedagogy, Faculty of Education, Matej University. My team and I are very pleased to take part in this international conference on social pedagogy entitled Creating Hope in Dystopia. In the beginning of our presentation, I will briefly introduce the Association of Social Pedagogues in Slovakia, and then my colleague will discuss the importance of social pedagogy in today's society in Slovakia in its practical task. The foundation of our non-profit Association of Social Pedagogues was initiated in 2018 by the Department of Pedagogy in cooperation with practicing social pedagogues. It was agreed to be seated at the Faculty of Education by director of our university already in 2018. Nowadays, the association has a national-wide influence. The main goal of this association is to bring together people who participate in university training of social pedagogues in the field of theory, methodology and further education, as well as social pedagogues working in school and school facilities, of educational counseling, of social pedagogy, who work in practice in various social and educational positions. The mission of the Association of Social Educators is to contribute the further development of preventive social and educational work in schools and facilities, also to increase efficiency in the prevention of socio-pathological phenomena, expanding professional knowledge and practical skills in social pedagogy through professional seminars, trainings, workshops and other activities. For members of this association, its supporters, students of social pedagogy and others. Let me mention a few educational activities organized by our association. For example, in 2019 it was a training on school mediation in the work of a social educator, or on networking and monitoring of educational needs of social educator from practice. In 2021, prevention of risk phenomena and risk behavior on the internet, not only during COVID-19, and so on other activities. As part of a state research project, the members of the Association of Social Educators prepared a project updating educational for social pedagogues in schools and school facilities, which is certified by the Ministry of Educational, Youth, Sports of Slovakia. We also prepare various methodological publications for members of the Association of Social Educators, free of charge for example, social and educational counseling, social pedagogy in Slovakia and abroad. Social pedagogies in Slovakia provide prevention, intervention and counseling, especially for children and pupils at risk of social pathological phenomena from socially disadvantaged backgrounds, drug addicts or other disadvantaged children and pupils, their legal representative and pedagogical impulses of schools and schools facilities. So, in accordance with current valid school legislation, they act officially as social educators at school.
So we have just heard that the Association of Social Pedagogues started in 2018, but the history of social pedagogy in our country goes back to 1965. This was first the publication of Professor Czeczetka, and then in cooperation with the Polish pedagogues, especially Wroczyński, who wrote Social Pedagogy in 1968, the cooperation developed and social pedagogy started to be really recognized as a scientific field of study. I would like to mention especially two important names to prominence of social pedagogy in Slovakia. That's Professor Balaš and especially Professor Jolana Hroncová, who has been an eager supporter of social pedagogy here at our Faculty of Education for over 40 years. She finished her work at our school last year in 2020, but she is still very actively supporting the profession of social pedagogues. She is rightly to be called the founder of Banská Bystrica School of Social Pedagogy, and I am mentioning her because she is very much involved with the current vision of social pedagogy under the influence of pandemic. First, let me say just a few words about the profession of social pedagogues in Slovakia, which really started to develop in 1993-94 when the study field of social pedagogy was opened for the first time. So we will now celebrate 30 years history of this study program. So the social pedagogues, their professional status, have been anchored in the Slovak legislation, especially since 2008. So they have been educated and trained in several schools in Slovakia, especially here in Banská Bystrica. And their official statement, the statement about their mission, is to increase the effectiveness of prevention of socio-pathological phenomena in children and adolescents, which are becoming more and more urgent. So already the first generation of social pedagogues in this region, in the middle of the 20th century, which I mentioned already, they emphasized the relationship between the social environment and education. And the current pandemic has plastically highlighted this role of social pedagogy. Although the Banská Bystrica School of Social Pedagogy deals with the detailed issues, such as the prevention of socio-pathological phenomena, it has an overall mission. And this mission is actually stated in the legislation of Slovakia, and the mission is to be a significant contribution to solving the current pandemic and post-pandemic socio-educational challenges. So the legislation allows social pedagogues to be involved in treating these problems and issues. So let us now look what the current social pedagogues in schools think about their current challenges, how their work changed, and how they can contribute to the society so that social pedagogy can be really seen as a hope in these dystopia times.
Hi, my name is Martin Valach. I'm working in a Center of Pedagogical and Psychological Counseling and Prevention in Banská Bystrica town in central Slovakia. At the very first beginning was tough for everyone if we are talking about the pandemic, because closed school were been a huge challenge among the helping professional as well for us, because we are as a social pedagogues uh, lost the contact, the physical contact with the students, and we had to figure out how we gonna to transport our activities from offline into the online environment. At the very first beginning of months of pandemic, the teachers was being under the highest pressure because distance learning has become very important society issues, and the meanings of social pedagogics and social pedagogues has become later because high increase of emotional problems, anxieties, cyberbullying as well, and we have to face this phenomena in online environment, especially in online environment, and long-term distance has been crucial for all these phenomena. So also the relationships among the students has been changed, and the impact was crucial, especially for new created school groups, for instance, like a first grade in high schools. So we worked with the students in online environment. We provide prevention activities. Also, we provide support for teachers, for a coordinator of prevention in high schools, and last but not least, for experts on schools, such as school psychologists, school social pedagogues, and many others. During the pandemic time, we faced the many challenges. First of all, at the very beginning times and months of pandemics, we had to figure out how we going to transport our activities into the online environment. And to be honest, we didn't believe it will be done from our side, because nobody before pandemic tried that. So it was totally new for all of us. But in the end, our department, I'm working on the Department of Prevention and High Schools, we found the tools how to deal with that. At least as far as my concern, my IT skills are much better now than before pandemic, because to be honest, I'm not very IT technology avid fan, so it was also a challenge for me, and I have learned how to use variety of digital platforms. Then later I'm using with the students and also with the teachers in online environment. So the pandemic is, currently the pandemic is not gone. So I guess we are currently in kind of immediate period. So now in this time, in this period, we try to help the schools in reopen the process of schools. If we are talking about the challenges after the pandemic times, we still don't know too much about the long-term impacts of students, but as suggests worldwide research, the behavioral, emotional, or cognitive impacts will be huge for the students. And from the social pedagogy's view, we gonna have to focus on relationships among the students, raise the prevention, bullying, as well cyberbullying, and for inclusion, and last but not least, how to try to find a way how to make a school much more easygoing place. Fortunately, in Slovakia is a significant connection between school success and social economic backgrounds of students. at least according to PISA results, and is the regular reason that long-term distance learning these differences will deepen more. Pupils from disadvantaged social condition didn't have access to technology, therefore to education, to learning. I think that the distrust of education and and institutes is gonna be more deeper from their parent side. So this is also be like a society's challenge, how to deal with that. Before pandemic, they didn't much pay attention about children's well-being. In last months, we have perceived large increase of emotional problems and emotional disorders. It is of utmost importance talking about well-being, first of all, in the context of prevention, not only when the problems will came up, and because in their situation the problems would be much worse, and it would be too late. So the problem of well-being, it seems like very important, especially in this time, because isolation was been too long for students, for kids, as well as for parents, as last but not least for whole society. Also, it's very important focus with students with special needs, because these target groups was being the most vulnerable group during the pandemic. And even in our center, we provide the support for these children with special needs. Social pedagogy can be a significant hope, not only during the pandemic times, but also in intermediate period in our daily life.
Hi, my name is Malad and I'm currently studying at the University of Mattia Bella, master's degree of social pedagogy. I'm also working within the frame of social pedagogy at primary school, and my background is in social care, mental health services. All these skills are really handy right now together with my studies in order to understand the needs of our students. The whole pandemic has affected our lives across the globe. In Slovakia, our students have been stuck for almost 8 months. They've been stuck in isolation and trying to learn online. I can imagine it must have been really difficult. Right now, these students have to transition once again. They need to return back to schools. And of course, all these transitions are bringing some levels of anxieties and difficulties. They've been emotionally and socially deprived, and now we're asking them to return back to normalities. Is it possible, after hearing all this horrible news about crisis and catastrophes, the scarcity that is still surrounding us? My role as a social pedagogue is to really make sure that these transitions are smooth, that students are feeling safe, that students are feeling valuable and heard. We're trying to create opportunities where we can have open discussions, where we can talk about our issues, where we can question, where we can be curious, where we can listen to our stories, our narratives that can really influence us and affect us, where we can unpick the underlying issues. These are my skills from the mental health services. The beauty of the social pedagogy that we not only work with the individuals, but we also work with groups. We work with the whole classes. We try to assess what's the most relevant issues within the class, and we try to tailor the support for each class for each group. As you can imagine, just working with one client is having an amazing effect if the support is right. But actually, when we have the luxury to work with groups or the whole classes, the effects are magnified. The social pedagogy, the heart of the social pedagogy, is having healthy relationships. Healthy relationship starts with conversations, trust, empathy, and skills that require social exposure. The social pedagogy is trying to role model to students how this could happen and trying to teach those skills so they can take them to the families, to the communities, and they can implement them. The prestige of social pedagogy in Slovakia is still progressing and growing. But my vision of social pedagogy is to really bring those skills, these positives of school culture to each school in Slovakia, and having conferences or shared debates on the international level so that we can all learn from each other